Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tailgate Talk. We're your hosts, David, Nick, and Joseph. Boys, side of the people.
Howdy.
Well,
So let's jump right into it. Another great week of college football. A lot of developments, especially over the last 24 hours. So we'll get all into that. But we'll start off with winners and losers of the week. For me, the loser was the damn Heat at the Clemson game. It was awful. Uh, I had to spend a good half an hour underneath the in the concourse of the upper deck to try and cool off and make sure that my wife didn't get heat stroke. So we had a good time there. But overall, can't complain too much about the Heat when your team's winning. So that's my
go
loser of the
Tigers.
week is the damn Heat.
Go Tigers. No better way to spend a Saturday.
Oh
Um,
no, no way.
bran branching off of the weather at the Clemson game, I think going into my winner this week, it's Clemson. Like as a Notre Dame fan, I'm not looking forward to playing Clemson this year. If we do play you guys, I think we do. Not looking forward to playing you guys. I sat here on this podcast 2 weeks ago and questioned you guys on your feeling about how this offense and how this Dabo Sweeney led program was going to work this year. So you guys haven't been at the top of your game in the last few years, but I know you guys have been there. I know you guys have been to the mountaintop, and I asked you how you felt, and no, none, both of you in unison said you guys were not panicked, and I think you're right, and that's why Clemson's my winner this week. I read a stat on, I'll give the CBS Sports this week that since the Georgia game, Clemson has outscored their opponents 125 to 55, and it's not like they played slouches. Like you played a Group of Five school in App State who's decent at least, if not better, and then you played NC State, who they don't I don't think they have all the pieces of the puzzle together, but they're very talented. So Clemson's my winner this week, and I think that Miami should be thrilled that they're only going to have to play them in the SEC title game, and I think that's going to be one hell of a game. So very excited to see what kind of happens over in the ACC this year.
Yeah, Clemson playing Notre Dame would have to happen in the playoff this year, Joe. I think we would love for that to be a matchup, especially if it's a like 5 versus 12 or something type situation where uh it's in Clemson would be ideal since we may all be
You
in
guys
the
aren't a Group
area
of
that
Five
weekend.
school, so I'm a little less nervous. We only lose to MAC schools that we pay to come out to us, so I'm not as nervous as like I am when Notre Dame per se plays a MAC school, but still a little bit nervous. I mean, you guys have talked about this upcoming season too, like not to branch off into another side rant, but like you guys both said this year, this offense is going to come down to its wide receivers and how talented they can be and what kind of production they can put up, right? Both of you guys said that to me. And both of you guys talked about your two freshmen that were coming in here and the guys that were supposed to kind of take that step forward. It looks like they're doing that. And like it's something Notre Dame doesn't have going for them right now. Watching Notre Dame football, it feels like besides Bo Collins, like who is also a Clemson guy or a former Clemson guy, we really don't have anybody that's like a guy who's going to go out and just take over a game. Where like you guys seem to be getting that going, and you may not have it consistently yet, but I think this is a step in the right direction. And I think that's huge
Sure.
for Taylor Riley. I think it's huge for a young quarterback in Cade Klubnik who hasn't gotten off to the right start that Clemson fans or nationally fans may have wanted him to. But I think this is a step in the right direction for everybody. Just as a program, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean Garrett said is in his press conference this week that, this is their second year in the system. It's a huge step forward. Receivers have, I think, woken up and realized that they need to catch the ball. They need to run Chris routes, and biggest thing of all, I think they need to be blocking downfield. We saw that this week. That guys engage with high intensity on that starting O. And then I want to give a huge shout out to Coach Luke and the job he's done on that offensive line. These are the same dudes from last year that we were just banging our heads about, like, what are you doing? Even like the first game against Georgia, running into each other on poles. They figured out how to pull as a group now. You can see that on Cade's 55-yard touchdown run. They are opening up massive holes and playing as a unit, and it's like everything starts and ends with that offensive line. Because if you give Cade time to, sit in the pocket and keep his calm feet is good Cade. If you listen to Aaron Murray, that's exactly what he'll tell you there. Um, it all starts and stops with the big uglies up front. And as a former big ugly, still pretty ugly, but and pretty big, but no longer playing. I uh I just want to give those guys their due.
Yeah,
Yeah, no. Like I'm not ready to hand them the national title by any means, but
Oh,
they
absolutely not.
look like a real contender, and that was the question for me. Like for me as a Notre Dame fan, my question for you guys was not necessarily like, is Dabo does he still have it? It was more like, all right, Miami looks really good. Like, are we gonna get to the point where like we can compete with Miami, or are we like the next tier below them? And it looks like you're on that tier. But go ahead.
The scary thing is that this team is still stupid young. I mean,
Yeah,
you've got Cade
very.
as a junior, and I've heard and Dabo saying that he expects Cade to come back next year. You've
He
got
should. He should.
you've got
He's not an
the
NFL quarterback yet.
defense so young. I mean, you'll lose Maffa, but now you see Jay Haynes with a big burst of speed. Like this team next year, I think is good. And then not putting anything in the tank this year. Like this year is we're going to enjoy the ride and enjoy the offense, but next year, I think this is where you're really going to see that further step back into the national spotlight.
Yeah.
and I mean, I played a little brief, very brief, almost non-existent college career as an offensive lineman. I can appreciate how hard it is for those guys to go in there and to completely change a philosophy and a run game scheme and a whole new playbook. And I think we saw that last year. And that's why you hire Matt Luke, and that's why you bring in a guy that's put guys in the league that can take young talent and coach them up and turn them into guys that move people. I saw multiple screenshots of these pockets and these holes when they running backs are running where it's beautiful. And
It's a beautiful thing.
as an O lineman, like I love seeing that, and I think that O line's the hardest position on a football field because you gotta have the cerebral instincts and the cerebral capacity to call out blitzes, to react to blitzes, and then you got to go run at linebackers. You got to move 315 pound D linemen. Sometimes you got to get to the shifty defensive backs in space. You got to do all these things, and you're getting hit every play. Um, so I think the hiring of Matt Luke will turn into probably the most consequential hire of the Dabo Swinney era, going back to when he first got hired
There are some
at
big
Clemson.
hires there too, like Brent Venables, probably the biggest hire people will talk about when they talk about Dabo. But I agree, Nick. Matt Luke is right up there as the instant impact. Same thing with like Nick Eason. Same thing with Coach Rump. It's awesome.
I will
Even
say
even Garrett Riley, right? Like he hasn't turned into what he was at TCU that one year with Max Duggan, but like he was that guy at TCU with Max Duggan, a backup quarterback who he lost his starting job. And to see what he did with that offense and that team and took them to the national title, like that was a big hire, right? Like again, it hasn't turned into what we everyone thought it was gonna be right away, and I still think it can, but you lured that guy away from TCU where he was comfortable, where he had guys that he was familiar with to come to Clemson and kind of take over an offense that and change an offense into what he thought it could moldably change into. So even the ones that haven't turned out, he's lowered good coaches to come over to that staff. He's selling something.
Yeah.
he said it last year. If Clemson's a stock, buy into it now.
Yeah, don't sell
Mhm.
your Clemson stock just yet. That's my whole point to this whole thing. And
Yeah.
in like one short sentence, that's what I would sum it up as. Don't sell your Clemson stock just yet. I know everyone's really high on Miami, but don't sell your Clemson stock. I think they're a problem in the ACC, and I think that everyone's sleeping on them way too soon.
Well, to segue on to the next part of our conversation, I think the part that we expect to spend the most amount of time tonight about. Nick, do you want to introduce us to your winner slash loser of the week?
Our loser of the week is college football as we know it. Um, it broke this morning at 12:30 a.m. Eastern time. Matthew Sluka, the quarterback at UNLV, posted that he was taking his red shirt, leaving the team, and entering the transfer portal. And he said the reason why was because his promises of opportunities were not met. Now, obviously, in this day and age, that translates to I didn't get paid what I was promised. And um, we saw I mean, obviously, UNLV came out and said their side of the story. The Sluka story is that they were promised $100,000. They only got $3,000, and they were told the rest of it would come as game checks, and they just never came. Meanwhile, UNLV side is that there was an NIL deal in place, and then after the performance of the team through 3 weeks, the representation for Sluka tried to renegotiate more money, and it kind of started falling into a pay for play type of thing, which is illegal, and UNLV did not want to do that, and that's why they said we're not going to pay you, and that led to the transfer. So we got a he said. We're not, unless there's an investigation, we're never going to find out really what truly happened. But what we can say is that it's sad for college football that it's come to this. I think if only a certain coach in 2022 had said, "Hey, maybe there should be regulations on this," and people called him a madman, but Dabo once again was right. Um, it turned college football into free agency, and now you're seeing that. And the other thing that makes me think that it's more Sluka than UNLV is just the reaction of the team. Um, you had guys posting about the backup quarterback and saying, "Let's ride! Like it's about time! Like we got you six." Like just looking at the vibes of the program, it seemed like the backup quarterback was more liked, and it seemed like it was more the quarterback being a diva. Obviously, I'm not.
Did you see one other person this afternoon also took
Yeah,
a red?
the fourth leading rusher. He was at NC State last year, but he also is taking his red shirt and he's going to transfer as well.
All right, perfect. As long as you saw it. I didn't look
Yeah,
into it.
yeah.
I just saw a headline. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, to the
So
group.
that
I
gives
shared the info.
that gives more credibility to Sluka. I'm not going to lie to you because it's starting to show a pattern at UNLV. But I think that
Jumping in
I'm
here
all
real quick
for
on that,
players.
Nick.
Huh?
I want to jump in here real quick on that because I think that from when I was diving into it, I think that, in my opinion, what went on was there was a verbal promise by a coach on an NIL deal. They cannot, he did not have the authority to give that or to make sure that it happened. And
Because that's all
so,
run by donors. That's why.
yeah, it has to, or as of now, it has to be done by donors. I think in a couple of years there, I think in 2025, so next year, it's supposed to change where now revenue sharing can be done through with NIL deals directly from the school to the players. Um, and so that will change it then, but as of right now, you have to go through a donor to get the money from. And so there was never a written contract before he showed up to school. They just paid the $3,000 stipend to move there. And then they came out with there was some offer on NIL from somebody, the latest one being, I think, $3,000 a month for the next 4 months. So that is where I think the truth lies in the fact that Sluka felt that there was promises made and they did not deliver, and then the school saying, "Look, we can't do more than what we did legally," and it's because there's no regulations in this freaking thing, none whatsoever. It's the Wild West, and so if you don't have something in writing from a donor or something to ensure that you're getting paid, all you have is people's word.
Correct. And I'm gonna jump in here real quick because I'm not anti NIL. I don't love it, but this is the new age that we're in, and I've kind of become used to it, especially as like a college basketball fan. More importantly, like I see a lot of like how NIL affects a roster year to year because it's not a 53-man roster, it's a 18-man roster. And like a lot of these college basketball schools, I know we're not a college basketball podcast, but a lot of these college basketball schools are turning over like the entire roster every single year now. And it's crazy to think about. But not anti NIL. But with that being said, like the school can only do so much to reiterate what David was saying. Now, I don't hate on Sluka for being like, hey, I didn't get my bag that I was promised and now I'm out. But at the same time, like, I get it that you didn't sign anything in writing and that sucks. I get it, that sucks, but you didn't sign anything. There's no piece of paper that we know of based off of the articles and information that I read that says you signed something saying that someone was going to pay you $100,000 over the course of this season. And it's a sucky situation because you didn't sign something, you're not entitled to that something. You can go to court, but like Nick said, it's a he said type thing. I could say you told me you were going to give me $1 million, David. It doesn't mean that if 5 weeks from now I say, all right, where's my $1 million? You're not going to be like, oh, I never offered to give that to you. You know what I mean? Like I know it's a dead point, but like it sucks for him, but that's his problem. Um, and it sucks, I think, more importantly, and this is kind of like my last point on the whole thing. It sucks more importantly for a UNLV team that was 3-0 and looked like they were starting to head in the right direction finally and finally be relevant. Like, I don't remember the last time since I got into college football that I can remember UNLV being any type of relevant in college football. So it sucks for them, most importantly, and I hope that they can salvage the season, but I didn't pick them this week, but if you're feeling a little ballsy this week, feel free to throw some nickels and dimes on the Fresno State Bulldogs because I mean it is still a backup and it's not the guy who won the Heisman in the FCS, I believe, last year. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think he's the guy who won the FCS Heisman. So
Yeah, and sorry to cut you off, Nick. So I just wanted to make sure that what I had seen in terms of trying to clear up what exactly went on, wanted to make sure that was said before we got too into it. So please get back to your point that I know you were trying to make.
No,
yeah,
I think
sorry.
my no, you're good. My main, you guys hit the nail on the head there. My main issue with this whole thing is just in the sense of college football in itself. Joe said it. You had a 3-0 team that is in a great position to fight for a playoff spot, and
Yeah,
your starting
legitimately.
quarterback quits on the team, plain and simple, for money. That sucks. I don't care. Like on the one hand, I want to feel for the guy if he was promised something and he wasn't, but there's no proof of that. So I just got to look at it at what it is. He quit on his team that was 3-0 with a chance for a playoff spot for money, and that's just not college football to me. And it's just it's why there needed to be regulations in place when NIL first was introduced, and the NCAA, once again, because it's a crappy organization, screwed it up. And there's no regulations. It's the Wild West. Anybody can do whatever they want now. And this is the result. Teams get screwed over. Like, you don't think that there are seniors on that UNLV team that were waiting 4 or 5 years for this type of team to be in place, and they finally get that piece they think they can put them over the edge, and 3 games in, oh, never mind, I didn't get paid. See ya. Like, it's just it sucks. And I've been in a locker room, and I would do anything for any of those guys in that locker room. Like, you go to battle with those guys, you're with those guys every day, you go through camp together, you battle, you go through practice together, you go against other teams together. Like, those are your brothers. I could not imagine turning your back on your brothers like that. And it again, maybe he's not going to the NFL. He's completing
Right. And
43% of his passes. So maybe this is his only chance to make some money. And I get that. But
I was
that's
just about to
that
say that, so you
yeah,
covered
that's
that.
what the offseason is for.
Yeah.
If you're going to go in the offseason to chase a bag, fine. That's one thing to transfer away from a team. Do it in the offseason. But if you're committed to a team in season, like that's where the loyalty comes in. Because now I think David said it in our group chat. He's tainted to other schools. Who's going to want a guy that is going to bail on you if he doesn't get what he wants?
Well, and I don't know how this. I'm not behind the scenes on the whole NIL thing, but I think that this just goes to show that if you're on the school side of things, right? Like I said, I'm not taking a position either or. I think the whole situation is um, kind of in that gray area. But I think this is something for the school side of things that you need to do your research on who the kid is, right? Because not necessarily like not every school is not going to have a donor who's not going to pay. Like I think this is a one-off situation that eventually, will be cast aside and we'll be like, oh, you remember the Sluka issue in college football, right? It's going to be on its own thing. I think more than not, the donors will pay. But I think for the school side of things, like if you're getting a transfer from an FCS school and and like he tells you what's important to him and money is the most important thing to him, maybe make sure that he's signing something with that donor or make sure that he's not going to quit on his team. Like make sure that there's, I guess, safety nets in place underneath the roller coaster of Matthew Sluka when you bring him in and install him into the UNLV community. Um, Either do your research and have a safety net of some sort, either with signing papers or, maybe don't recruit him because you don't have that capability to give him $100,000 from a donor.
Yeah.
And I just think that's like my final note on the whole thing.
I do want to add a little bit more context as I was looking things up. For one thing, uh, I I think he made a mistake in doing it this way. I think that he could have done it more internally, in order to say like, hey, if this isn't this is what I promised. If I was promised, if I don't get this, I'm not gonna play. And do that more quietly than announcing exercising his red shirt and exercising his right to transfer. He is in his fifth season, so he has used one transfer or one red shirt already. If he did not red shirt after this game and played
Correct.
it, then he would not have been able to go to somebody else. So this was his last chance, unless he uses a red shirt, which he has, to get the payday that he was looking for. So if that's his priority, then that at least explains why he made that decision. I still think that it was a mistake. Like I said in our group chat, I think he is now tainted in the eyes of the media, the public, because of how this has gone about. And so I think he made a mistake in the way that he handled things. The thing is, at the end of the day, for me, I feel the worst about for the players, the teammates that he's leaving, and just college football in general, because I think this is just highlighting the seediness of these adults taking advantage of these young kids that are trying to find generational wealth for themselves, for their families, find ways of supporting those around them and themselves, and trying to make the most of their opportunities. The people with the money are the ones who are really the ones benefiting from this NIL, and that's why I've hated it from the start. I like Nick said, I think there should have been regulations, but you've got this kid being taken advantage of by these boosters, making promises that they have no intention of keeping. You've got him being taken advantage of by, I think, his agent too, because like just what agent does not get something in writing before you make a commitment? I'm sorry, that was just ridiculous. Um,
Yeah, no, I
and
agree.
then, and so I think for this, my last point here is if you're a student athlete and your focus is on NIL, which a lot of them it is because this may be their last chance. They then the percentage that goes to the NFL is tiny. If you're chasing NIL money and these opportunities, you better make sure that you have agreements in place that are written down, signed, dotted, notarized, that are binding. Because we've now seen this now as a couple of instances. I mean, Florida had that. Um,
Jaden Rashada.
for,
Yeah, Jaden Rashada, yeah, who's at Arizona State.
yeah. So. That's the last thing I want to say. We've got about 10 minutes left before we get kicked out, so we need to get to picks. So we got to go rapid fire on this, guys. Nick, you want to pull them up?
Yeah, one sec. All right.
Good to go.
I hate this. Um, I'm really bad, so not much else to say. Locks.
Nebraska. That's all I have to say about that.
Don't want to talk about Nebraska. Nebraska sucks. Uh, I my lock USC over Wisconsin. I think USC is going to be mad about not taking advantage of what was in front of them in Ann Arbor. Wisconsin got blown out by Alabama, and now they're down their starting quarterback. I think that this is turned from a somewhat okay year for Wisconsin to just get us to next season. Give me USC.
They just have no identity, Wisconsin. All right, mine is Old Miss. This is one of those 5 or 6 teams in the country who has not missed a beat from the first snap that they've played this year up until now. And I don't think that there's many teams who can say that. Like I think Miami is one. I think Old Miss is one. I think Tennessee could even be one. Give me Old Miss minus 17.5 here versus a terrible Kentucky team led by Brock Vandegrift, who's a failed 5-star.
I'm taking Nebraska this week over Purdue.
Suck.
You know what? It's just when you're hot, you're hot. I'm calling my shot here. Rayola is acting as much like Mahomes as he can, so you know what? I think they're mad after letting it slip away against Illinois. Give me the Cornhuskers.
What'd you call them last week? The corn men? What'd you call them? The corn
David
people.
or
That's what you
me?
called them. Yeah.
People of the
I
corn, who knows? They're
I
the
I
Huskers,
called
though, and they're
I called a lot of people a lot of things last week and it didn't work out for me. So pick them. Uh, Game of the year so far
Yes.
until we get Georgia Texas. I think it'll be a close one. I just think that Georgia has more firepower than Bama. Um, I'm really excited for this one. I think I'm going to be in the game for Clemson Stanford at this time though, so I'm not going to be able to watch it, but I will be following along on my phone. But give me the dogs here. I think that Georgia is still the best team in the country. No, actually, no, I don't know. Texas might be the best team in the country, but Georgia's up there 1-2. So give me Kirby and the dogs.
Yeah, I'm staying on the fighting Greg Schianos this week. Rutgers minus 2.5. Don't think Washington's that good. They've let me down twice this year. And Rutgers got me a win last week. So I'm staying with the fighting Greg Schianos of New Jersey this week. Rutgers minus 2.5.
I'm also going Georgia over Bama. Like Nick said, game of the year so far.
Oh,
Um, this is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to watch it. But yeah, this is the game to tune into.
who sent it
If
first? So
you're a
I know
college
what to
football
bet. Who sent this scheme in first? So I know what to bet on FanDuel.
me.
All right, good. I'll take Georgia minus 2 then.
Suck.
I want it on record that my picks came in on Sunday and y'all's didn't come in until today. So
Mine was in yesterday. So fact check yourself there, buddy.
Get him.
Upset time. BYU over Baylor. I'm surprised that BYU is a dog here. They just waxed Kansas State. I don't think Baylor's very good. They just blew beating Colorado on. I mean, Dave Aranda should be fired after that. They almost gave up a Hail Mary, and then they did give up a Hail Mary, all within 6 seconds. So I don't understand how Baylor's a favorite here. I will be putting U.S. currency on this game. Give me the Cougars outright winners.
don't forget, BYU's already forced one guy to have to buy a burrito and do unspeakable things with it.
Yes. I am also taking BYU here. It scares the bejesus
Interesting.
out of me. It scares the bejesus out of me because Nick took it, but
Interesting.
I saw
Interesting.
I saw the 22nd best team in the nation not favored, and I said that was a mistake, especially kind of like you said they blew a lead to Colorado last week. I just think this has BYU written all over it by like 14. So we'll see how it goes, but this was the Best opportunity I could get for an upset. Easiest upset pick.
Got my vibes for Wazoo over Boise State.
Ooh,
Well,
spicy.
I'm loving it. I don't know why. Smurf turf is going down. I just got a feeling. So we're going with Wazoo.
Now on to our favorite, the over/under. Liberty app over 62.5. It scared me when I picked the game and then I realized, oh wait, there's a hurricane coming. Then I realized the hurricane's going to be gone by that point, and App State's defense can't stop a runny nose. So I think Liberty's going to score a lot of points. I think App's going to have to score points to stay in the game. What I'm hearing is hammer this over. Give me the over 63.5. I love this pick, and I cannot wait to watch it lose.
Yeah, I love this pick, but I got scared that tailing you might give me a second loss. Ohio State has scored, I think, 45 on their own every game this year at minimum. All I need is 3.5 from Michigan State, 4 if I wanna take the over here, which I do. So give me the over here. I think this one's super easy. I'll take the team that plays in the toilet bowl shaped stadium up north.
Before David makes his pick, shout out to Florida State for getting their first win this week.
Oh God, they're so horrendous. They're awful.
Though you robbed us of the Cal memes.
They're
Congrats
so
on getting
bad.
a win. All right, David.
Here comes the
Hmm.
Iowa pick. Oh
Now,
no.
just because Florida State won doesn't mean that we're done with them yet. They still hit the under, smash the under, in fact. Now they're going to SMU. That hurricane is going to take a nice little left turn. It's going to sprinkle a crap ton of rain all over SMU,
And that
and
SMU
and
team is bad.
and
No,
that
no, they're
SMU team's
not.
bad.
Yeah,
47
they
and a half.
are.
Are you
Their
kidding
their
me?
offense is horrendous. This year, all I heard about, sorry, David, I don't mean to steal your thunder here, but this
Huh?
offseason, all I heard about was, oh, their coach at SMU is so good. Their offense with Preston Stone and RJ Maryland is so good. How many points have they put up this year? I think they're averaging like 12 points per game. It's disgusting.
Right,
They
that's about the
scored
same as Florida
66 last
State.
week.
Say what?
That's fine.
They
That's
scored
fine, Nick.
66 last week, Joe.
Against two.
TCU.
Okay, a bad team. My point. Go
They've
ahead.
scored 29, 59, 8, 15, and then 66.
They're not that good. Not as good as everyone heralded them to be. I actually very
Here's the
much like
thing.
this pick.
I'm picking the under, so it don't matter.
And it's gonna
Smash
hit,
it.
yeah. Your brother's
It's
picking
gonna
the under,
hit.
so.
It's gonna hit, and then I'm gonna be feel a lot of pain next week when I have to pick the under for Florida State Clemson. So give me the under on SMU, and it's gonna be a wild ride. I can't wait to watch it.
I cannot wait to watch SMU score more points than 40. They're going to put 49 up themselves. Book it.
I don't
I'm
know
going to
about
rub it in
that.
your face.
Also,
Nick,
you've
I
been
don't
a
know
little bit
based
cold
off of
lately.
your
Usually I'm on your side since you're my over buddy, but I
based off of
I can't
based
do
off of
it.
Nick's record, I think I'm good.
Shut up. Okay.
Well, you know what?
Whatever.
This is fun. This is great. I think we got all we got today. Go Tigers.
Go
Go
Tigers.
Irish.